Historically at the front and center of the educational sector and pop culture for Black America, historically Black colleges and universities have been central to the Black American narrative in life upon these shores. And here to talk with us about the emerging viewpoint of those narratives is Louis Carr. He is the legendary president of media sales for Black Entertainment Television, in that role for the better part of 19 years, over a 35-year career with the network, author of 2 books and mentor to many. Here to talk with us about the value of HBCUs, the commodification of HBCUs in the entertainment space, and more in education. Doc, it is an honor to have you on today, man.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate being here with you, and let me congratulate you and encourage you on the work that you do, because it is necessary and important in today's world, and what we all are trying to achieve for our communities and our young people.
That's high praise coming from you. Let's get into the heavy lift of the conversation early, because I think this is something that a lot of folks who have followed BET, who grew up with it, who really embed it in our lives as a resource for news, information, and lifestyle will want to know. And as a network, it's long been synonymous with sports, entertainment, lifestyle. A lot of folks have called for BET to take hold again of those roots that they have with historically Black colleges and universities. How do you view HBCUs as a commodity or an asset for the network, for national attention and viewership, and in total in the marketplace when you consider the value of airtime and marketing space?
Well, I don't know if I view it as a commodity. I may view it as a precious metal, if we had to put a term on it, because not just from an overall, how do we sort of monetize the HBCU experience, but more important, where do we get our talent from? Who do we give opportunities? How is our brand sort of connecting and engaging with HBCU students? So I look at it that, whether we're talking about interns, whether we're talking about full-time talent, we look for people who really understand our overall mission, and whether that's entertainment, engage, or empower, or, we are now in this space where we're talking about Black love, Black joy, Black pride, Black power. I believe that HBCU students and their overall culture, as we know, leads the Black experience. As I said last week on a panel, what young Black kids do today, the world does tomorrow.
Yep.
So that's why I think it's so important to brands like BET, that we sort of make sure that we are on the cutting edge, on the pulse of the HBCU experience and those students that participate there.
When we think about, kind of the genesis and the evolution of reality television, BET was at the forefront of that. Obviously, the College Hill property was a big part of that, and it helped in a great way of exposing HBCUs to communities all over the country, particularly in places that do not have any HBCUs, and in exposing, the dynamicism of young people. There have been rumors about that. We heard Deion Sanders and Tracy Edmonds talking about that when he arrived in Mississippi, that it was possible that was going to be a reboot. I don't know if you're at liberty to talk about that, but is that a real possibility? And if so, are there things that would take place with this iteration of the show that may be different from the last time we saw it?
It is a real possibility. That's what I can say. It is a real possibility. And you being in media, understand that.
Right.
And I think the difference today is that the Black experience, Black culture, as the President of the United States and the leader of the free world said last week as he opened up the NAACP Image Awards, Black culture is American culture. The Black experience is America's experience. So I think what's different today than a couple of decades ago is America is awake. Black community is awake. Black students are awake. They're more engaged. They understand their power more. They understand their influence more and their impact on everything. We have a saying that everything unique about America comes from Black people. So I think what is different today is that we realize our power, we realize our influence, and we are more engaged than ever before. And whether that is what we want changed or what we want to see different, or on calling on brands and corporations to be more active in participating in change.
How do you take your experiences and try to get people to see that, not just as individuals, but as collective society? So you have experience. You're an author. You're a publisher. You obviously work in media and entertainment, and particularly in the revenue side of it.
Mhm.
And then you also are an educational advocate through philanthropy, through
Yes.
serving as executive on 2 collegiate boards.
Mhm.
So you have a lot of different hats that you wear. How do you wear them or adjust them to say to people, to young people particularly, here's how you can realize your power now that the whole country is more awake than it's ever been in terms of trying to create opportunities or to create equity. And while we still have a long way to go, we're moving a little bit quicker than we typically have. How do you tell people to take advantage of this moment?
Well, number one, to young people, what I say is be prepared, continue to uh, be engaged, and continue to bring awareness to the inequities of our communities and our country. Push, 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 push. Don't let people tell you it's going to be a slow process. We need to wait. We need to slow roll it. Don't let that continue to sort of force the conversation. And also, not just on people who don't look like you, but on people like me. Make us come off the sidelines and engaged, and make sure that we are telling your story on the inside walls of corporate America. Make sure that we are pushing just as much as you are pushing. And to corporate America, and what I say to them, I try to help them understand the business case. If you can't do it just because it's the right reasons, do it because it's the right business reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And those are easily sort of laid out, easily, transparent. So I try to make a business case to corporations, and I try to make a preparation case and awareness case to young people.
Is there anything that HBCUs, whether as individual institutions or as a collective sector, is there anything that they can do to get a Lewis Carr to say, hey, you're obviously, dedicated and intentional about programming, but how do we turn that into partnerships, as you mentioned earlier in the dialogue about, hiring pipelines for talent, pipelines for workforce development? Are there things that HBCUs can do to match the intensity that, BET and Viacom CBS has for trying to find new people from new places to do new things that are emerging in tech and entertainment?
So I would put that uh, particular duty on the administrators
Okay.
of HBCUs. I think young people are doing their part, whether that is protesting, whether that is marching, whether that is going to school and get an education. I think the administrators of HBCUs need to start reaching out and trying to create real business partnerships with corporations to sort of create this pipeline that corporations need and HBCU need in order to create jobs and opportunities and awareness. And they need to do that with intentionality and consistency. So I think it's sort of a role to play for everybody. There's a role to play for corporations. There's a role to play for HBCU administrators, and then there's a role for the students to play as they prepare themselves for uh, leaving college and participating in the world in a big way.
How do you get people to think big in that way? And I'm not saying, and I don't mean to indicate like, HBCUs need to think bigger. They do every day, about survival and thriving.
Right.
But if you are not Howard University, Spelman College, Morehouse College, Florida A&M, Southern University, if you are not a prominent brand in the HBCU space, if you are a smaller institution, what advice would you provide to, say, a smaller campus with a very centralized yet important mission could approach a big business and say, do business with us because of this?
Well, having been a sales guy for so long, I don't think it's really the size. I think it's the intentionality and it's the strategy that is needed. Now, when you're small, clearly you got to work harder. You've got to be more intentional, and you've got to be more strategic. But I don't think it's impossible. I think you just got to be intentional. I think you've got to be loud. I think you've got to be consistent. And I think you've got to do some things that may be non-traditional or out of the box in order to get people's attention. But I think most HBCUs have a history that they are proud of and that people would be interested in, and they've just got to do the sell job. It's just a straight up sell job of getting people in corporate America to understand the value that they and their institutions and their students bring to the business case.
When you, or at least when I went through your first book, Dirty Little Secrets, which really gets to the core of how to interpret and to embed principles of hard work, commitment, faith. It's told to the anecdotes of you as a track and field athlete in high school and in college. It really just says, if you believe in something and you're willing to work hard for it, it'll happen.
Yeah. I talk about vision a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have it for yourself, then try to find a vision maker.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in this particular environment in which we are right now, I think we need to have big visions, and that's from an individual basis, that's from an institution basis. I think we need to think about scale and different type of opportunities and different type of partnerships, and how do we take advantage of this window that is open this much now. All right. It ain't open like this. I don't want people to think, you can jump through it. You might have to crawl through it, but it is open. And how do we take advantage of that as long as it's open? We hope that it's going to stay open for decades. I'm not sure, but I know it's open right now. And I think we all need to be very intentional about trying to get through it and sort of grow our footprint, grow the awareness, grow opportunities. And I think it's just critical that we do it at this moment.
Is there something that the sector can do that indicates taking advantage of it? Obviously, we're seeing a big influx of philanthropic support coming to HBCUs, mm-hmm. and we're seeing a lot more companies being intentional about, we want to hire
not so big that people need to stop.
No, please don't stop. Please don't stop. But bigger than we've seen.
I would just say it's more than it was a year ago. All right.
And in some cases, bigger than we've ever seen. Yeah. But is there a case to be made that HBCUs can make and people like you can make to say, here's how it continues on? Well, and who is that on? You said administrators, but you know the HBCU story. You know it well. You've been selling it for a long time. You've been paying for it for a long time as a supporter. What else can we do from a corporate perspective, particularly Black folks who are leading in corporate spaces?
Well, I think number one, they can come together and talk about who are some of the most influential and famous HBCU grads. And that campaign should go to everybody, mm-hmm. Not just to corporations, but it also should go to our own community, because we want to continue to sort of motivate our own young people to participate in the educational experience. I think it also, a story needs to be told about those HBCU grads who are now in corporate America in great jobs and who are making a difference. A lot of them at BET and very influential in high positions. And they're very, very proud of the schools that they've come from. So I think they need to sort of create a campaign. And, if there's no dollars for them to sort of buy the time and buy the space. They should come to people like us and say, can you donate time? Can you donate space? Because this story needs to be told.
Mhm.
And I'll probably get in trouble for that. All right.
You're not in the business of giving away no airtime.
I'll probably get in trouble. Like,
I mentioned earlier that you are a college trustee at Chicago State, and you're a native of Chicago, and you work closely with your alma mater, Drake. You are very concerned and have been on the record talking about opportunities for African American students affording college in the years to come, particularly post pandemic.
mm-hmm.
How serious of an issue do you think college access will be for our community in the years to come? And are there things that the community can do to prepare for what will be challenges with affordability, with preparedness for academic rigor? What can we do to adjust?
Well, first of all, thank you for mentioning that. I joined these boards to be able to be an access point for students, primarily Black students, to get in school. Because I believe it's so important right now that our young people get educated. And whether it is a 4-year college or whether it's a 2-year college, whatever the case may be, I believe that education and knowledge is the key to a better life and the growth and improvement of Black communities around the country. I dedicated myself to sort of helping these two schools. I'm also on advisory board of the School of Innovation at Iowa State. I just want to make sure that I am doing my part to sort of make sure that our young people understand the importance of education and that they have access to education no matter what their economic background or capabilities are, that we can figure it out. And I think that I'm trying to make sure that, as I would say, Jared, that there are more waymakers out there that is focused on education of our young people. And so whether they're going to a HBCU or whether they're going to a state school or wherever, that people come off the sidelines who've got relationships, who've got resources, who really understand the importance of knowledge in our community and what it's going to do for our future, that we really do all that we can. And people are doing a lot, but I'm asking people to do a little more to make sure that Black young people get educated. It is one of my primary missions.
Do you have any concern that because there's such a push for diversity in Fortune 100, Fortune 500, in every industry and in every realm of life here in America, that there could be pushback from corporate hierarchies or from systems that exist?
Well, being very honest and transparent with you, they say there's a push. I'm not sure that's real. At this particular point. Is it more just talk about it, not be about it? We've got to see some numbers get up on the board for we to say it's real. All right.
Right.
Is there pushback? There's always going to be some silent pushback. I don't think people want to be that vocal. Most people don't want to be that vocal. There is a group of people that we see every day are still being vocal, whether it's against voting rights or whether it's against D&I. So let me correct that. But I think that corporations are talking more than doing more right now. So I think it is continued and needs to be pushed by people like myself, the importance of having a diverse workforce and what it does for corporations P&L.
Please plug your book, plug the publication, because I think that people want to get a sense of, how you have distilled, through your own understanding what leadership looks like and what it feels like. One of the big takeaways, obviously, me being a Morgan State grad, in your book is you worked for for Earl Graves.
Mhm.
And he came in one day and said, I'm gonna fire everybody. You know, people who went to Morgan noted as Earl Graves. I mean, but I think that there is power. If there's an antidote that you would share that helped you to define leadership or define greatness, please share that, and then share with people how they can get more of your experience and more of your insight on these topics through your books, through your conversation, through your social.
So 18 years ago, Jared, I started the LCIF Foundation, which is Lewis Carr Internship Foundation. And I did that to show what one person's commitment to D&I could end up being. And as of today, we've had over 180 interns that came through the LCIF Foundation, and we have over 50 that have full-time jobs in the industry right now. So I think it's important that people make their efforts intentional. I think it's important for students to be curious and be coachable and be hungry. When I give speeches, Jared, I talk about I had the privilege of being poor and I didn't like it. So I worked hard to sort of change that direction and narrative of my family. I tell students, be hungry, be curious, be coachable, and use the greatest invention of the 21st century, which is the internet, to seek out knowledge and information and opportunities, because they are everywhere. They are everywhere. We've just got to be almost desperate to find them in order to take advantage of everything that exists out there. There's money out there for scholarships. There's opportunities out there for jobs. I was sitting on this panel, as I was telling you last week, this HBCU panel, and someone said, you know, how do we get our content reviewed within your corporation? And people started talking about, you know, this organization, that organization. I'm like, we're sitting here right in front of you. All right. You get the easiest email addresses in the world.
Right.
Send it to us and then harass us. Be consistent on us, pressure us. You know, so I think you've got to be more aggressive in this environment because it's more competitive than ever before. You've got to be determined and you've got to be intentional about being successful at your craft than ever before. It's intention. You know, when people come through my internship program, I said, we're going to work you very, very hard. You've never been worked like this before. You're probably even going to get upset at us because we're trying to build a work capacity. We're trying to stretch your capacity to be able to do a lot of things and work multiple hours while you're young instead of trying to do it when you get old like me. So we want to make sure that we prepare young people for the workforce. We want to make sure that we make them curious. We want to make sure that they're confident. I believe that young people at HBCUs and at most schools, you got to live up to your greatness. It's inherent in you to be great, and you've got to live up to that greatness. Don't let yourself down. Don't worry about don't letting your parents down. Start with yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe in your own greatness and work towards being it. Being in corporate America, someone said something to me. I'm not going to tell you who it is. About 5 years ago, I was debating them about something. They said, Lois, just live up to your ego and we'll all be fine. And I just, woo. Because if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you? So I'm telling young kids, live up to your ego, because we all got them. We all got them. And that's what I try to do every day, is live up to that ego and go out and believe and show the world. When someone tells me I can't, I'm almost like, did you tell me you can't? I can't do that. So if you follow me, and I am Lewis Carr, you see me doing all these other things. My latest brand called Waymaker. And it is a brand where we want to educate, motivate, and inspire people to live their best life, to change their families, their communities, and this country. So people tell me that I can't do a certain thing. I'm out to prove you wrong. Even at my age right now, I'm out to prove you wrong. I had the privilege, Jared, a few years ago, of sitting in a room with Bill Clinton, and we all had opportunity to ask him a question. And so I'm sitting there, there's questions going around the room, and I'm thinking, what can I ask that's clever? You know, you come from the hood. You say, I want to ask something that's real clever.
Yeah.
And I said, Mr. President, how big does your ego have to be to want to be leader of the free world? And he looks at me and said, not big at all, Louis. I just looked at the person that was doing it in front of me and said, I can do better than that.